Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode from Double Sleeved. Today, we want to bring you something a little bit different. We have a new segment in mind that we wanted to share with the public.
This segment is called Unpopular Opinion. It's a segment where we're going to be talking about things that may be a little bit controversial and things that people may differ on opinion within the community.
And the important part of this segment is that it's not just about us. We want to hear from you guys as well. We're going to be having guests feature on this segment every couple of episodes too. So let us know in the comments, reach out to us on Facebook, and we'll get your opinions on here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode from Double Sleeved. Today, we have a very important guest with us that wants to discuss a couple of topics. Some of you may know him with the hashtag Can Peter Play, but no one has ever hashtagged Does Peter Want to Play. It's Peter Cattani, everybody. How are you doing today, my friend?
Good, man. I'm good. I'm relaxing. I'm excited to be here and talk about DBS and how good Bandai's doing and all that good stuff.
Well, we're very happy to have you, and obviously very nice to finally meet you and have you on this channel, of course. You can see we've got obviously Ryan and Gary joining with me today, guys. We're having a full-on discussion today of what the unpopular opinions are out in the public. Gary, do you want to give us your unpopular opinion and why that is?
So to get us started, I want to say best of one is the best format. I come from a parenting perspective. I come from a speedy perspective. Best of three takes so long. I do think best of one sideboard is the best format, as we've just seen in Fest and tried out. But I think best of three games aren't necessarily the way to go in the future. We've seen best of one in webcams. We've seen best of one tried in real life. And I feel like it can really be the best format going forward strategically and in terms of actual time to get events run as well. Peter, what are your thoughts?
Oh, mine. Okay. So Fest was a success.
Mhm.
Everyone loved it. Everyone has good things to talk about it. A lot of people went into it for fun. They just took it as like casual. But it was a blast. It was a really fun experience. My negative thoughts on it is once you're in Top Cut, once Top 16 happens, that's when I believe it should go back to best of three at that moment. We have a main deck. You submit a main deck and a side deck. When you're doing that format, best of one sideboard, main deck doesn't really matter. So like building your deck is really just 75. And then you make it there. With Top Cut being best of three, your main deck is now, okay, this is what I came in with to play in this top level. And then, you decide you do your thing. But that was my only, I wish it was best of three. Because going first still is a factor in this game. It's always going to be a factor in any card game. And in a level like that where people, sure, took it as a casual event, but it can be competitive. Like, they can use the same format of sideboard and all of that in, like, regionals. I don't know. I want to say Nats too, because realistically you can. But once it gets to a Top Cut level, that's it. We're back to best of three. Let's do this because, we weed out all the ones that I don't want to say don't know how to play, but like lower level. So, that's how I think about it.
It's interesting. I really feel like having that side deck is important. Like, we need to have side deck, but interesting point that you're pretty much just building a bigger deck and then you're mashing together whatever you need depending on what your matchup is. I think the length of how long the game goes for, sometimes it drags on a little bit too long, and with the way nobody likes draws. Everyone hates the way that we have draws, and I feel like in best of three, especially with the new time rules, you're going to have player one rolls dice, wins, and then the next player's going to go, I'm going to go first, wins, and then we end up in that same draw situation. It's just draw, and this will sort of push forward to prevent those sort of draws from happening. It still has a competitive side where you need to know what's a sideboard, and you still need to know your matchups and how to play around different decks. What's everyone else's thoughts?
To me, that sounds more like an issue with the way that drawings and the time rules and stuff are structured, rather than the actual format of best of one or best of three. Being a competitive game, and there's always going to be RNG and things like that involved in drawing your cards and stuff. I've always been a big fan of best of 3 for the entire event, and I enjoyed playing best of 1 for a casual event like Best. But if we're back to in person, doing regionals, doing Nats, I think it's best of 3 the whole way. That's my opinion. Just because there's so many situations where you do lose game 1, just because your opponent drew all the cards they need. You didn't see what you needed, and there just wasn't much skill involved in that game. And then you take game 2 and 3 because you realize the matchup, or you're able to side in the cards that you needed. For me, best of 3 feels more skill oriented rather than just rolling the dice best of 1. My opponent goes first. I'm locked out of the game.
The competitive scoop in game 1 because you're not
you can't do anything about it. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just easier to cut your losses. Let's go to game 2 and I'll take it from there.
And I think I agree with both of your points, actually, because I personally love best of 1. I think best of 1 is very quick, very easy, and you have to kind of really, really consider your best 55, let's say 55 as an example, because that seems to be what people are basing it around. Your best 55 cards that not only make your deck the way that it's meant to be played, but also adding in those extra cards that you think you'll come up against and struggle against, right? So it does bring a point of skill in it, but again, you're right, it comes down to the RNG side of things, where it's like, if I didn't grab any of the first couple cards that I needed in my mulligan, if my opponent just drew Godly, then there's a problem there. I also don't mind the idea of having best of 3 when it comes to the finals, because it's top cut, and obviously you're there for a reason, right? You're obviously a good player. You beat out a lot of players in the field, and then you're going back to what made this game from the very beginning, right? It was like the best of 3. It was, you make a sideboard, and those good players will have a good sideboard too, right? They will have thought about their matchups coming up, and they would think to themselves, all right, this is what I'm going to be siding against this person, or this is what I'm going to be siding against them. But it still focuses on your main 50 to 60 card deck that you put together that you believed was going to be strong enough. So even though I do like the pre-game sideboard, it kind of feels like a cheating or a get out of jail free card, because it's like you said, you can still make your ideal 52 card deck if you want, but then you've got 15 cards on the side that's just like, I didn't have space to put this in my main deck, but it doesn't matter because I can just put them in before the game starts, and all of a sudden I've now got a 65 to 70 card deck that, I don't need to worry about until I actually get to the point of what my opponent's playing. So what do you guys think of, I guess this is another question that obviously touches on that. What are your guys' thoughts on best of 1s making, I guess, players with less experience better, because it was just all about, like, if I've got a jank deck, or I've got a deck that coincidentally beats yours or comes out of left field and I don't know what you're doing, it all of a sudden makes them, I guess, I wouldn't say appear better than they are, but it just gives them this weird potential that, in a best of 3, they shouldn't really win, right? Because again, you've figured out that it's a bit of jank. It isn't really like strong. It's just that you caught me off guard. But then going into an event where there was no pre-game sideboard for a best of 1, it made these players shine, because it was just like, yeah, I took this and no one knew what it did, so now I'm in the top cut.
I think the perfect example is when yourself and Ryan did commentary for the Australian event. There was a Soul Striker AOD build.
Yep.
Most people against a Soul Striker, they're going to side in certain cards, but when they see it's actually AOD, there's a whole pool of other cards that you need to actually deal with that.
Agree. I don't know how we do this turn-based thing. But that's exactly that's exactly the case where, when you side, you're like, oh, I get what this deck is doing. Cool, you side. That's the beauty of the best of 3. Just going back to the combo real quick. Day 1 was fantastic. In 8 rounds, finished in 6 hours. Yep. Like, you weren't burnt out. You were solid. Great. That's day 1. Day 2, let's say hypothetically it's 64 players, which it never really is. It's always 32. But let's say 64. That's 5 rounds. At that point, it's best of 3. That'll be like 5 hours, which is totally fine. And you have the competitive players, the top players, which are not slow playing, there's no draw factor in there because we're in Top Cut. There's no draw. There's a deciding winner there. So I hope to see that actually, if we do keep this, because it is solid. Just when you travel somewhere, you never get to see the damn city because you're spending 10 hours in one venue, burnt out. By the time you're done and you made day 2, you're like, dude, I just want to eat and sleep. Yep. When we were done with this, it was day 1. I believe we were done by like 4 or 5, and people were able to enjoy Miami. Honestly, Miami's not that great, but people were able to do stuff, and that's a nice feeling. So the same concept you said. I took a jank deck. Oh, no one knows this crap. Yep. I win. Oh my god, it looks like a great deck. No, the moment it's 2 out of 3, deck sucks.
Yeah,
but
and that obviously determines what you take on the day, right? If you know that it's going to be a best of 1, no pregame sideboard, that then gets you to thinking, I'm more likely than not going to take either something that's super powerful, that's, meta defined, that has really good matchups against everything, or I'm going to take something that's, janky, that by the time they realize what I'm trying to do, perfect example, Android 18 mil, it's too late. The game's already done, the game's already decided, I've already got my win, I'll go into the next matchup, do exactly the same thing, because those decks that people create specifically for best of 1, I don't think I have ever seen someone specifically add cards in for the opposing matchups. I think it's always based around what they're trying to do and solely focus on what they're trying to do just so they can get their win condition, and they don't care what comes up against them. It's kind of like a Hail Mary kind of deck, is, in my opinion, from what I've seen when we do best of 1s.
My kind of problem with that best of 1 no pre-side is that people just tend to turn towards the most aggressive deck, and it shuts out being able to play control or being able to play these mid-range strategies, because we've got 30 minutes to play our one game or 25 or whatever it is. I'm just going to run you over in the first 10 minutes, and if your deck's even just a little bit slower than mine, or I go first,
game over.
Exactly.
I think that was the
enjoy your loss.
Gohan era that we had.
Yeah.
You won the dice roll, you won the game.
Yeah. Even if you didn't win the dice roll, you were still in this excellent position, unless you're in a mirror match. Like, against majority of the other decks out there, you were just too fast and too strong to be able to shut that down. Whereas in a best of 3, perhaps that changes, especially if there's a lot of Reboot Gohans running around. People prepare for it, and it becomes a bit more skill-oriented.
Well, it was the point that, you talk about Reboot Gohan, which is a great point to bring up, because as a player, everyone said the same thing, right? When you came up against Reboot Gohan, it was always like, just hold negates, like hard mulligan for negates in your hand, and that will win you the game. And it was just like, sure, if I see that in the 12 cards that I do reveal, that's fine. But if you're not playing blue and you don't have access to Coercion, Dimension Magic, Bean even at that point, well then it's too bad, so sad, because a lot of these decks in best of 1 formats don't really run that many negates, right? Like, there wasn't really, every single color had 3 or 4 staple negates to really worry about. Now we've got, testing the opposition, or the army reinforcements and things like that, where you can take your own life and then have a blocker on the field, which would have been super important and super relevant in the Reboot Gohan era. But we didn't have that at the time. So your point is, very accurate, because it was really, if you go first, or if you had this super, super aggressive deck that needed minimal resources to kind of run you down, even Red Broly at a point was the exact same situation. It was just like, putting this down. If you don't have a way to get out of it, too bad, so sad. And that ripped cards from your hand as well. It was just, it was just way too much for what it was in that time. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, and it hits you on two fronts, not only because it's so early in the game, but both of those decks had a similar theme of, Reboot Gohan was critical, like you would use the feat Kamehameha, so you're not getting these cards to your hand. Correct. And Red Broly ripped the cards from your hand alongside of these critical attacks. It was just, there was just not much that you could do.
Anything else anyone wants to add before we go on to the next topic while we're on the best of 1?
Best ones are great for day ones.
Yeah,
that's all.
I think I can agree on that.
All right. Second point that we want to bring up today, Ryan, take us away.
My point was that reprinting sets, specifically like how they reprinted set 10 and 11 does more harm than it does good. And what I mean by that is I'm all for reprinting cards that get expensive, but through other avenues, through promos and, anniversary boxes and mythic boosters if they do it like that. But reprinting these sets in their entirety, giving them the stamp and things like that, I feel like it does more harm for the stores in that every locals that I've been to over the last few weeks just has these boxes sitting on the shelves, right? And it's kind of disappointing for the players to get these packs as prizing because Realm of the Gods is sold out, Sand Showdown's gone, all that stuff. It's a little disheartening to, play your locals to get these packs that you've already got the cards for. But also from a store's point of view, if they're not that invested in Dragon Ball and understand, the reprint sets and all of that, and they've just got stock sitting on the shelves, it's going to deter them away from buying the newer sets, which are going to be more popular because they don't want this stock sitting on the shelf. Again, yeah, I understand that it gives access to cards to a lot more people. Cards do get expensive, and that's not a good thing. But I feel like there's other avenues to reprint those good cards without reprinting the entire set.
Like you had a great point, but you're saying there's another avenue. What's the other one?
Or the mythic boosters, the anniversary boxes,
Which was horrible. Mythic Booster was a Mythic Booster, the one with Gogeta that destroyed stores.
Yeah,
Mythic Booster destroyed stores, and they hated Dragon Ball afterwards. It seems great for players. For players, oh my god, we love it. For stores, they not saying bankrupt, but how stores are. They sink 10K to try to make 15K, and then that 15K they sink to something else. They sank all this money. 80% of them barely broke even.
Wow.
I think that is probably because of the way that the Mythic Booster was set up. It was set up like this premium product, and they obviously increased the prices for it. That could change to a point where the box itself is in line with the same prices as everything else, but still give you the access to the previous cards. They don't necessarily need to all have these special gold foiling and be these, extravagant cards.
No. They were gorgeous the way they were. It was just too much out there. That's really the problem. It's not like Draft Box. Well, Draft Box was, just money. Why? Because it was like a limited supply. Some stores can only grab 10 Draft Boxes. Okay, cool. That means, the amount of card pool that's out there in the world is limited. Everybody had Gogeta, which, when we heard the reprint, we're going to guess it was $10. Just common sense, depends on the pool rate, but it's going to be a $10 card. This, another $10 card. No, everything became $1 afterwards.
Yeah.
Why? Because everybody had hundreds of it.
Yep.
They all sank their money and they all went bad. So when you talk about reprints, at least that one, Mr. Booth, for example, this Fest pack, fantastic. Oh my God, for players, the best pack ever. For stores, the ones that we're sitting on, Baby Unisons, Piccolo, and all that, that's problematic. Piccolo right now, I think if you go TCG, the Unison, at least last week it was $20. I don't know the price now, but I know the pack, the one that comes out in that pack, I believe it's like $2, $3. Why the hell would anyone ever pay for the $20 one? Let's say it's $15 now. Why would you pay for it?
Yeah.
The other one looked better with the foiling. So this is damaging. It's great for us players because I love playing crap. I love having tons of cards. But for stores, a lot of stores, not that they are giving up on DBS, but they're giving up on DBS.
Yeah, they kind of been scarred from after obviously buying it, which is what you said, Ryan. They obviously buy so much of it, and then no one wants to kind of grab back into it, and then they're just sitting on dead stock, selling it below MSRP, and it's just kind of like, we want to get rid of it. It's too costly holding it into the store. And Pete, I want to ask you a question because, we talked about the Mythic Booster, and you said that was kind of like a terrible design choice for obviously giving it to stores at infinite quantities, whenever they wanted to purchase it. What about the Battle Evolutions booster? If you remember that one, which had Heroine's lineage in there, half new cards, half old cards that were reprinted for people to get obviously their hands on. I don't think the price was still the same as a normal booster. And then it felt like you were still getting a lot of value out of it because there was hard to get cards in there. We had Basil, Ribrianne, Obuni, which are all cheap now, but you also got new cards while you're at it as well. Do you believe that was, I guess, the more superior set than Mythic Booster was in terms of the way that it was designed for both stores and players?
When you say superior, I'm not quite sure about that one. Like at least that word, but I know it did. Like that set didn't harm stores. Mystic, I know everybody was harmed by that. The cards that came in, I was thinking too. I was like, what was reprinted? A Booney. I'm like, okay, that was at least a $20, $30 card. Came down to one. Rebrand at the time, the reprint, it was cheap. It was like $3. Now it's 10, but whatever. It was $3 at the time. Everything was cheap, which great for players, sucks for stores.
Yep.
And there's got to be a balance there. But like Mythic, I'm trying to think of everything Mystic, and I just know everything is cheap. There's just so many complaints that I've heard, and fear for friends because most of my friends are like they're store owners or whatnot. Yeah, I just know that set was horrible for everybody, and that I was happy because I have 4 Gojitas now. I paid $4, but problems later on, and we want this game to grow. Say it again.
Even the secret rares in that set absolutely tanked in price. Like they're worth absolutely nothing.
Cell,
I mean, they weren't great choices to begin with. After they already nerfed Cell,
they nerfed Cell, which was fine to bring that reprint. The other one, a lot of people didn't care for in the beginning. So, like, if you were going to pay $100 for the alternate art, you're an idiot. Oh wait, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But like in general, like you should know better than pay $100 when the original was 80 at that point. They're like, oh no, it's alternate. Whatever. I guess we should talk about collector marker at that point afterwards. But yeah, no. Just reprints are good. It's important, but it's also harmful.
I agree. I really love reprints for the fact that you got new players. If you want to get new players in, they need to have access to card pools. If you want to, have the foiled out bling, things like Mythic are important for that. But it's the way you go about doing it. It's the way that you implement that into stores. It's the way that, when you got your pricing, like you mentioned, fest pricing. Why do we have brand new cards in fest pricing when the new set is in stores? What's the point of me buying the new set if the card that I need is in that promo pack? Things that are getting reprinted should be high in demand cards. It should be things that are relevant to the meta, but it should also be on a time frame of, well, this card hasn't been printed or the box has been out for 6 months. It's now time to get it out. We've obviously had a set come since then. We've had a chance to sell through all that old stock. That's when you start to get the reprints involved. Otherwise, people buy boxes and they want to get value out of their boxes. Some people buy to flip, some people buy to play. You want to be able to buy your box, and then if you want to sell, trade, whatever, still have value in that box. You don't want to crack a box and go, I've opened this box and it's already worth less than it was sealed.
That comes back to my point of reprinting this set 10 and 11 which is more specifically what I wanted to talk about, rather than having reprints and reprint sets and everything. Is the value still there for these sets that have already come out? And, are you guys for or against having these main sets reprinted? Let's just say in a month later, they decide, okay, we're going to reprint 13 and 14 now. Would you guys be for that or against that?
Definitely not. I look at the way that they did that, and the reason why they did those reprints was because the collector market blew up. Everyone was buying out those boxes. Players didn't have access to those boxes and the cards that they needed because the collector market went stupid, and they were buying out every box in existence. But when you reprint it, you can't reprint it and have it come out over a year after its initial release. That then becomes irrelevant. Like, if you're going to do it, it needs to be and the production can't happen quick enough for that sort of stuff. You can't have knee-jerk reactions that are going to take over a year to actually see production, because that then just becomes irrelevant and it's not worth doing it. Like, if you're talking about reprinting set 13 and 14 now, there's no point. If they turned around and said Realm of the Gods is sold out, with thinking about releasing a small pool just to get into stores, I'll be more understanding of that, but I don't think it's relevant. I think once the set is printed, it's printed, print enough in the first place and be done with it.
I agree with that. And they know. No, go for it, Peter. Go for it.
No, please.
I was just going to say, they know what cards are good and what cards people are after. They can use these promo packs, these dash packs, these event packs that we do get and things like that to
buy a box promotion,
bring the prices down for those packs.
Man, I think it should be quantity. Quantity control for sure. So Mystic Booster can't happen again. The 2 reprints that you said, I actually do not know the reason why they got reprinted. I thought it was because Hatch was like $250 and they didn't want that. That's the only thing I can think of. Hatch and Broly. Now they dropped down to like 150. Okay, cool. But what else were in the set? I know there was like important stuff. I just don't remember what
Dormant
it was.
Potential, Violent Rays, like all those
God
good,
Sealing,
all those God Sealing, Freezer, Charismatic. There were some good cards in there.
There's some good ones, but they already printed.
Correct.
They
made event
Freezer's
pack
coming out in starter
yeah.
deck. Trunks came out like in some pack. Like they are doing things to get it more attainable. Yeah, no, just don't reprint sets again. That actually was just stupid.
Yeah.
That was a waste of time, and just for people like stores who would have multiple products of this. You know, the cards I have 4 of. Cool. I'm not here to sell. I'm here to just have. So when you reprint a set, it does no damage to me. My $20 card became a $5 card. Okay, cool. I wasn't getting rid of it in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
But stores that have, you know, a quality, they just tank. What's the point of it then? No, 100%. No, that's bad.
I think, sorry, go on.
No. Oh, well, that was more my point. Like, I'm trying not to say I'm doing a new thing where I don't talk bad about Bandai. I really do. But it's hard. Like, things like this is just difficult, man, because it's like, no, that's a bad move. It's great for the players, but without if the stores don't support it, then it's irrelevant if the players are happy.
Yep.
Yeah. They really need to look at that and learn from those sort of experiences, and hopefully they take on all the feedback that I'm sure they got a absolute ton of. But going back to things like reprints, reprint Charismatic Villain in your other boxes that are coming out. Like those are the chance to reprint those cards. There's no point doing it in a box that's irrelevant anymore.
Well you say that too, and you know we're starting to see these tournament packs have 2 reprints of cards that
also great.
I mean, I wouldn't say Kefla Roaring is, you know, very popular right now. Probably didn't need it, but Violent Rays in the previous set, Zamasu in the previous set. Those were really good cards that you would be happy to pull out of a tournament pack if you did not have them. And I didn't have them, so I was happy to get them even if they were a reprint at the end of the day. But one last thing that I want to touch on that we've kind of like spoken about, and this is going to be a good topic to kind of discuss as well. We talk about, you know, finding other avenues to reprint cards that are needed, right? We've got an event pack that just came out. I think it's 8 or 9. I don't even know. We didn't even 9. Okay. We had one fest down here so far, and who knows if we're even going to get another one. So all those reprinted cards that look nice, that look fancy, that people can get their hands on, they're awesome, you know, but it's still very, very limited. Like, I wouldn't say to a point that, you know, hopefully they obviously add that in later on, but it's got a fest stamp, so you have to have it at a fest event, right? So it is limited on how many you can give out and which events you can give it out to. But, you know, we've got Event Pack 9, and we've got the Vegeta rare from Realm of the Gods taking up a slot in that event pack. Should that have been another card from a set that is harder to obtain, rather than giving it the treatment of a rare, like, you know, we've got Piccolo cards in there that people barely see anymore, which are, you know, might become popular again with like the multicolor side of things. But do you think that the Vegeta is justified in that event pack, or should it have actually gone to something that players would rather have than just an alternate art of a rare card that came in Realm of the Gods?
Throw the 1-drop Goku that just got put unique in the errata. Like, it's in Gogeta. People are going to want it. They want to follow their deck with the fanciest card. Something like that. Make it relevant to the meta. Don't take something from the new set.
I think that pack's a really good example as well, because not only did you have the Vegeta, you had the 1-drop Yellow Icarus, which they've already nerfed that deck into the ground. That card is just ridiculous to reprint. They've also got the Piccolo Unison in there as well, which was in the Fest stamp. Like, that card also, you got that card from your Fest prizing. It's disappointing now to pull it in the event pack. It just feels like a waste. Yeah. If you don't pull the Supreme Kai in the event pack, you feel like you got nothing, because Riposta's already been reprinted a couple of times. It was in Nats and everything like that. But look at Heroic Prospect and the amount of times that they've reprinted that card. That's 5 cards that they could have reprinted like something else of and gotten more value out of, because when you get Heroic Prospect now, it's pretty much a coaster.
It's laughable.
It is. Yeah. It is. Yeah.
There's too many to even have one of each art.
Yeah, which is out of control.
No, like the dragon. You're right about that. It's a waste, but it was the world champion deck. So they nerfed it to the ground. 100% agree. Almost unplayable. But if you have love for that deck, you're probably
you
gonna
still
get those
want
dragons.
it. Yeah.
You still want it. That Vegeta, 100% agreed. Why it's in there? It just came out. I don't feel like they put much thought into that. The Piccolo, the double printing of it, you're right about that too. I didn't put thought, but yeah, that's another pack where it just comes out a $20 unison. It's okay to have $20 card, guys.
I agree.
It's okay.
Healthy.
I know we're trying to like get new players in, but at the same time, like, nah, man, you're gonna get this old player out. The other Piccolo, though, super happy they reprinted that. The draft box one. That was inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
That one needed a reprint. And sure as shit, high five, good reprint.
Yep.
It's hit or miss. And like, could they have voted? Could they have given us like a vote sheet? I don't know. Other companies do things like that where like, oh, what do you guys want? Stuff like, yo, we at that point, bro, you already. We're disappointed, are we not? Like, we're happy, we're disappointed.
Yep.
So I feel like there's got to be some kind of system because whoever you're listening to, whoever your opinions are coming from, because they listen to certain people. You got to listen to the community, not just someone's opinion. No.
I think you're absolutely right. We are the players at the end of the day, and we are the ones that are playing to get these event packs. We are playing to get these first packs. We are playing to get the prizing. We should be able to say, hey, we want this, or like, this would be more important to us. And we're the ones that are going to pay to get to these events and actually, like participate, right? So I think that's a great point to bring up, because it really should give us a say on like, this is what we want to see. And apparently those player reprint choices with the Zarbon, the Goku, and the Trunks Heroic Prospect were apparently voted by us players. But again, to give Heroic Prospect another spot, and Zarbon has got 3 or 4 reprints now as well, which was quite laughable. It is very interesting if players are actually voting for that, or if they are listening to external sources where people are saying, we need this. So
what timeline are you listening to? Because you're right, we did vote on these things, and we voted in the beginning when they were $50 cards, they were $100 cards. Yeah. How long have they been listening? Because I think they're still looking at the same sheet, because that's the reason why Trunks and Zarbon got printed 3-4 times.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, it was that one time, we'll switch it to something else.
Even the judge promos, like there was a few judge packs where it was just like, why is this even in a judge pack? Like, it just didn't make sense. Like, you look at the fat Gogeta fusion, what do you call it, Vegex or Vegex. Why was that even in there? The bunny from U9, like, had no place. Like, there's some cards you just like, who's actually choosing these cards? Why is this relevant to what we're doing as players? Some people might like, U9 is a popular archetype, but to have a judge variant of it, unrequired.
I think they've cleaned that up a little bit more.
Oh,
now.
Definitely improved.
With some of the new judges that we've seen, probably a bit more relevant.
Yeah, well, I think that's like we've kind of gone over a fair bit of points with a lot of stuff that's going on now, and a lot of things that the community are obviously talking about, which is always good to bring up and see the opposite side of things and where everyone sits. And again, Peter, I want to say from all of us, thank you so much for joining us today. It's actually really entertaining and enjoyable to listen to, some of your guys' thoughts, down in the States, because you're obviously a bigger community than we are in Australia, and we're obviously trying to grow it here as well. And, we want to push forward and kind of get to a bigger spot and a better place. So hearing, the majority of what you guys are talking about, like you mentioned with your stores that you go to and you're friends with a lot of store owners and how they feel about stuff, and you've got a lot of insight to that kind of thing, is very entertaining and very enjoyable to kind of discuss. So again, I want to say thank you for joining us today, and it's been a pleasure meeting you. And hopefully, obviously in the future, we can kind of collaborate on something again, and definitely get you back on for something, even if it's not another unpopular opinion.
Yeah, we're waiting for you to top with that new cell deck.
We'll see. Man, I'm always playing crap. That's the worst part about me. Like, I can't play good. This last fest, I was going to take announcer, and then Andrew Duvall was like, can you win? And I'm like, oh, like, he gave me ideas. I'm like, nah, that's meta. And then he suggested Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. I'm like, that's jank enough
Mm.
that it's my style and can win. And bro, it was a fantastic deck. Fantastic. Tell you when I say amazing. Like I literally think it's the best blue deck. Like I know everyone complains about Soul Striker, because it's the best. It's like blue good stuff. But even then, I don't know if y'all play Soul Striker, but it's missing something.
Yeah.
What? No idea. But it's always missing something. And like its unison of choice is a 3-drop one. We all know the best one is the Boo, but it doesn't work with him because you need to play it on 3. Bro, when I played SS4 Vegeta, it had the best defense. I could play the best unison. I had the best bombs. Like, how is this not the best blue deck? And for sure, let me tell you, that deck really felt strong. I built it the day before. So my first 2 rounds, I was learning the deck because I haven't played with anybody because I can't go anywhere to play. Not DBS. The local here is somewhere I can't go anymore. So can't test. And like Andrew and Jonathan Rodriguez come to my house here and there, but it's uncomfortable. It's like a living room, little small table. I can understand not going. So here I'm just shuffling my cards, testing with myself. It's not that great. In Fest, I learned round 1 and 2. Oh, that's what deck's supposed to really do. Got it. So then I win 6 straight. Pretty happy.
Wow.
And got 8. I wanted 17th because at least they still call out the name of the 17th. But we got 18th. Let's see what happens next time. But believe me, SS4, best blue deck.
It is a very good deck.
Yep. Yep. And I think without saying it, Peter, we understand. Deck profile of Peter Cattani coming on Double Sleeves YouTube once he tops the next event. Confirmed here today, guys. Cannot wait for that one. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Peter, do you want to shout anyone out or anything that you want to say before we finalize and wrap up here? Thank you, Double Sleeve.
Help, of course. Shout outs, man. If you're important to me, you know it. Shout out to my friend Tommy. I actually just played this game because of him. After being banned, or after not being able to go to the locals that I used to go to anymore, there was no point for me playing DBS. I don't do webcams. I'm not a fan. Hell, I'm holding my phone right now. Like, you can tell I don't use computers. So, like, there's no point for me to play DBS. I only play because of my friend Tommy. I've been friends with him since 9th grade, and I'm 30. There's some age there. There's some years. And he, a month ago, got in a car accident. He hasn't been able to speak. He hasn't been able to speak for a month now. Like, hasn't said anything. And he's not dying, no. But doctor said like 10% of him being who he used to be.
Wow.
So we meet again, or like, if I had to introduce myself to him again, we were best friends. Like, if I had to put a title of best friends, I don't like labeling things, but if I put a best friend, it had to be him. So I'm gonna do a shout out to him and ask for some prayers. I don't know. I'm not big God thing, but like, he loved this game. He loved this game, and he would force me to play. So I miss him. And playing at Fest, I felt like I was missing something. I got new cards from this new set. I did good in Fest, and I'm just excited to like show him all the stuff. I'm like, look, I got you this deck, and I don't know when that's gonna be, but warm welcome hopefully when he comes back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Love to Tommy down from Australia.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, well, thank you again, Peter. I'll wrap it up here. Thank you everyone for obviously tuning in today. Hope you enjoy this new type of segment that we're obviously got going on. If you do enjoy it, please make sure you give a thumbs up on the video so we can see that you obviously enjoy this kind of stuff. It'll help us kind of push further and continue on doing these. Leave a comment below with your unpopular opinion that you want to maybe see discussed one day on the channel. And make sure you hit that subscribe button so you always get notified of when we have a new video. But for today, that is it from us. If you want to see Peter come back again, make sure you leave that comment. We need to know if you enjoyed this. Peter, we hope you enjoyed yourself as well, obviously joining on with us. And again, thank you so much, everyone, and hopefully see you in the next one. Take care.